Good afternoon, or not good afternoon, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our part 2 of our Unpacking Commissioner Rules to support school transition for students experiencing homelessness or in students in substitute care. My name is Kelly Kravitz, and I'm the director of the Highly Mobile and At-Risk Student Programs Division. We are going to be together for the next hour and 15 minutes walking through this rule. We have some excellent information to share with you today. And I would like to go ahead and in a moment, we'll introduce my team members. But before we get started, I want to remind you that we are a part of special populations at TEA. And our goal is to equip school systems to increase awareness, to promote equitable access, and improve outcomes for all special populations. So before we get started, I want to go ahead and introduce you all to our incredible team, our Highly Mobile and At-Risk Student Programs Division at TEA. So as I said, I'm Kelly Kravitz. I'm the director of this team, and we'll go ahead and have Cal Lopez introduce herself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cal Lopez, and I am the Texas Education for Homeless Children and Youth State Coordinator.
Great, thanks so much, Cal. Jordan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Brown. I'm the Special Projects Coordinator for the division. Today I'm going to be here helping out in the chat and answering any questions in the Q&A. So if you need any assistance or have a question, feel free to put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A and I'll call it out for you.
Great, thanks so much, Jordan. And Latrenda, please introduce yourself. Oh, you're muted, Latrenda.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Latrenda Watson. I'm the At-Risk State Coordinator with supporting foster care services. So thank you for joining us today.
Great. And so a little bit about today's presentation. We're going to be providing you tools, processes, procedures to support implementation of the Commissioner Rules that address school transitions for students that are experiencing homelessness and students in foster care. So we're going to be walking you through, we've got a brief introduction. We are then going to spend some time talking about the transfer of student records and transcripts, talking about the award of credit, and then placement, educational programs and courses. And then we'll have some closing and next steps. So this is part 2 of a 3-part webinar series where we are literally going through and breaking down each component of the rule and considerations and strategies for implementation. Something else that you'll see in our rule is that we, as many places as possible, we reiterated what is existing in the education code and then went beyond that in implementing policy that supports our most mobile students. And so you're going to see a hybrid of that in today's presentation, where in some aspects we're going to be talking about existing practices, existing policy that is the expectation for all students. And then there's going to be places where we're talking about some special considerations that are in policy for our highly mobile, these groups, foster kids and students experiencing homelessness, and referencing existing parts of the administrative code. And then you're going to see where our policy 89FF goes beyond anything else that has been written previously, is not codified in any other policy, and is very new and unique as of last March 30th, when these rules became effective. So today, like I said, we're going to walk through each section, and then we're going to walk through considerations for implementation step by step through these 3 components of the rule: transfer of student records and transcripts, award of credit, and then placement and educational programs and courses. So thank you guys so much for being with us here today. Just wanted to remind you about a planning tool that we created to assist the planning process. And so Jordan will go ahead and drop that in the chat. But this is just a fillable document that you can use as you go throughout the training. And if you were with us in part 1, we just ask you to get this document out and go ahead and keep filling it out. So we've broken out each section of the rule in the columns on the left. So for example, that first one says transfer of student records. Then to the right, we have a notes column. In the middle, we have a helpful strategies column, and then a next steps column. So our goal is with this tool that you would come away from each of these trainings with some notes, some strategies, and some clearly defined action steps to support you with implementation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cal Lopez and the rest of the team to share today's content and walk you through this training and presentation. Thanks so much for being here today. Go ahead, Cal.
Thank you, Kelly. So here on this next slide, we wanted to go ahead and share the Commissioner Rules concerning transition assistance. So Title 19 of the Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 89, Adaptations for Special Populations. Within Subchapter FF, Commissioner Rules concerning transition assistance for highly mobile students who are homeless or in substitute care. Now, these new rules were adopted and effective as of March 30th of 2020. And so we're excited to be here again and share some strategies and some more information to help support implementation of these rules. So we wanted to go ahead and review some common terminology that we'll be utilizing throughout today's presentation. So McKinney-Vento refers to the Federal McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act. Texas Education for Homeless Children and Youth Program refers to the Texas McKinney-Vento program. McKinney-Vento eligible students refers to students experiencing homelessness. McKinney-Vento liaison refers to the designated LEA local homeless liaison. On this next slide, substitute care is the placement of a child who is in the conservatorship of the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, or DFPS, in care outside of the child's home. Foster care is 24-hour substitute care for children placed away from their parents or guardians and for whom DFPS has placement and care responsibility. And foster care liaison refers to the designated LEA local foster care contact. And see here, we wanted to go ahead and share with you LEA foster care and McKinney-Vento liaison requirements that assist and help support with school transitions. So in this slide, we have highlighted the Texas Education Code that refers to the designation of a foster care liaison. And also for McKinney-Vento within the federal statute, the designation of a local McKinney-Vento liaison and highlighting their duties to help facilitate services for our students in foster care and who are experiencing homelessness. So for those of you who joined us for our first training, we wanted to go ahead and highlight some of the information that was provided. So our first training, part 1, we did go over the rule requirements for 89.1605, which we discussed develop systems to ease transitions of students who are homeless or in foster care during the first 2 weeks of school enrollment. And we did cover resources and strategies to support with student welcome packets, school introductions to ease transitions, nutrition benefits, and the enrollment conference. We have posted the recording, the slide deck, and all the resources on our highly mobile webpage on our TEA webpage. So we are now going to go ahead and move forward with the transfer of student records and transcripts. And so this is under our Rule 89.1603. And so here on this slide, we have included the rule text for 89.1603A, D, and E. Each school district and open enrollment charter school must ensure that copies of student records are made available to schools to which students are homeless or in substitute care. Student records must be requested, sent, and received using the Texas Record Exchange or TREX system. And if a school district or an open enrollment charter school fails to receive the required information within 10 working days, the requesting district or charter school may report the non-compliant district or charter school to the division responsible for TREX support at the Texas Education Agency. On our next slide, we're going to go ahead and discuss rule requirement 89.1603B. So each school district and open enrollment charter school is required to transfer student records within 10 working days of a receipt of a request from a district or charter school to which a student is homeless or in substitute care as required by TEC code 25002A1. I did want to share that the 10 working days is a provision for all students, but we wanted to go ahead, we did highlight it here in our rule text, specifically for our students who are experiencing homelessness or in foster care. Next, the discretionary authority under TEC Code 31.104D to withhold records of a student if a student has not returned or paid for instructional materials or technology equipment does not exempt a district or charter school from the mandatory provision in Texas Education Code 25002 to send records to another public school in which the student enrolls. So we wanted to share with you that for students experiencing homelessness, they may be in a situation where they're unable to return or pay for instructional materials or technology equipment because they have been lost or damaged due to their highly mobile status and living situation. For example, when a family is evicted, oftentimes those items are removed from the home and lost. Or if a family lost their housing due to a fire or natural disaster. At times, instructional materials and technology may become broken or damaged by siblings or others living in their doubled up situation. So we wanted to share with you a self-reflective question. Do you have a local process or policy in place to ensure that fees for instructional materials or technology are not a barrier to the transfer of student records for students experiencing homelessness or in foster care? Here on our next slide, we're going to cover Rule Requirement 89.1603C. Proof of enrollment in a different school district or open enrollment charter school permits retroactive withdrawal to the date a student enrolled in a new school. The date of enrollment in the new district or charter school is considered the date of withdrawal from the previous district or charter school. And so here on the next slide, we wanted to provide you the resource that shares this information. This is a provision that applies to all students. And so we have included a screenshot of the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook that you can find on our TEA webpage. And within the Student Attendance Accounting Handbook, Section 3.4, Withdrawal Procedures, highlights the information that we have included in our rule. And again, this does apply to all students, but we wanted to make sure that we highlighted it specifically in our rule to support our students experiencing homelessness or in foster care. So considerations for implementation. First, become familiar with your local process and policies for the transfer of student records. Systems should be in place to maintain, send, and receive complete and accurate records for students experiencing homelessness or in foster care. LEAs may not prohibit a new student from attending school pending receipt of transcripts or records from the school district the student previously attended. And I wanted to share some additional considerations and reminders. A quick reminder of immediate enrollment provision for students experiencing homelessness or in foster care, even if lacking paperwork normally required for enrollment. So as you can see here on our last check mark, we talk about not prohibiting new students from attending school pending the receipt of transcripts or records. And this would be covered under the provision for immediate enrollment for students experiencing homelessness or in foster care if lacking paperwork normally required for enrollment. On our next slide, utilizing all LEA resources available to evaluate and assess the accuracy of student records, including communicating with sending schools. So as a strategy, working with your students and families to map out all the schools the student may have attended during the school year. That is a key point of information, especially for your registrars and school administrators when they're trying to determine the number of schools to request records from to ensure that they have received and are available to put together the most accurate student record. Administrators, registrars, and at times liaisons can support this process by reaching out to the previous district to support this. A few examples are, at times, there may be the delay of 10 days, and a McKinney-Vento liaison could then reach out to the McKinney-Vento liaison of the sending school to help assist with the facilitation of sending records. As part of your local withdrawal process for students experiencing homelessness or foster care, they should be provided complete and accurate records. So again, this is a great example to ensure that we do our due diligence to help ease the transition between schools. So as a former registrar, I would make sure to prioritize and ensure that when I was creating student records or transcripts for students experiencing homelessness, that I was able in a timely manner to develop an accurate student record to ensure that we could provide that to them upon withdrawal as the sending school to help ease that transition to the new school and include any additional information that may support the family. And then lastly, develop local processes and policies to ensure fees for instructional materials or technology are not a barrier to the transfer of student records for students experiencing homelessness and foster care. And again, that should be part of the withdrawal process, is evaluating if that has occurred and how to help mitigate that challenge, again, as the sending school to help ease the transition to the receiving school. And we're going to go ahead and check with Jordan for any comments or questions.
Yeah, so we had a question about providing credit for homeless students. Blanca asked, is the school required to provide a student with credit on a past course if they are a homeless student, but they did not have the required seat time to obtain credit?
Sure, so that's actually a great question, and we're going to cover awarding credit here in the next section. So we're going to go ahead and save that question here after we cover the next few slides.
Awesome. That's the only question we have.
Okay. All righty. So now we're going to go ahead and move to the award of credit, which is rule requirement 89.1607. And so under the requirement of 89.1607A, each school district and open enrollment charter school must adopt a local policy to assist with awarding to a student who is homeless or in substitute care credit for a course that was earned prior to the student enrolling in or transferring to the district or charter school as required under 74.26 of this title relating to the award of credit. So some considerations. Be familiar with your local policy concerning the award of credit. Credit earned towards state graduation requirements by a student in an accredited school district shall be transferable and must be accepted by another school district in the state. And we've went ahead and referenced TAC 74.26A1. Credit earned in a local credit course may be transferred only with the consent of the receiving school district. And lastly, a school district must ensure that the records or transcripts of an out-of-state or a transfer student from a Texas non-public school are evaluated and that the student is placed in appropriate classes promptly. The district may use a variety of methods to verify the content of courses for which a transfer student has earned credit. And then we have also provided the citation under TAC 74.26A2. So going back to the question we had about the seat time, that would really need to go back to your local policy concerning the award of credit for students experiencing homelessness or in foster care. So really kind of wanted to stress that coordination and collaboration, both within your district and school, and also with the receiving and sending schools. I also did want to give an example of when we're looking at credit for courses earned prior to the student enrolling, is really working with the sending school and reaching out to them if you have any questions about why they may not have been awarded credit if they did have a passing grade. So on this next slide, under our rule provision 89.1607B, each school district and open enrollment charter school must examine how credit is awarded based on satisfactorily meeting all state and local requirements for a course upon enrollment as required by Texas Administrative Code 74.26 of this title. Considerations for implementation. LEA should ensure that they have access to accurate and complete records. Award of credit must be based on the demonstrated proficiency in the TEKS for the course. LEAs can use a variety of methods to determine proficiency. For example, local assessments, evaluation of coursework completed, and credit by examination are just a few examples. LEA should create a local Texas public school transcript for transfer students, including an out-of-state or non-public school transfer in a timely manner. So we wanted to share with you that when we're working with student records, we must do our due diligence to ensure that we have complete, accurate, and also the most up-to-date records to support our students. And when evaluating the transcript, utilizing a variety of methods to determine if the student has demonstrated proficiency for the credit. And then lastly, for the I was going to share, we will give some examples. I just wanted to share one example about an out-of-state student and evaluating credits. So as a former registrar, I had a 9th grade student who did take Algebra 1 and did pass the course, but they were coming from California. And so California does not award a credit if the student takes Algebra 1 in 8th grade, which is not what, and in Texas we do. So this would actually be a really good example and a perfect segue to talk about credit by examination and how that's a great tool to help assist with our students in demonstrating proficiency and earning credit. So here on our next slide, as part of our rule requirements for 89.1607C is expanded credit by examination window. So each school district or open enrollment charter school must provide opportunities for a student who is homeless or in substitute care who enrolls in the district or charter school after the start date of the school year to be administered credit by examination at any point during the school year as required by our Texas Administrative Code 74.24 of this title relating to credit by examination. So here, this is actually a screenshot of our credit by examination webpage on our TEA website. And so yes, it does show the 4 quarterly testing windows, and we've also included a link to this webpage, but we wanted to specifically highlight the information that is provided on this webpage in alignment with our rule requirement. So basically, students who are experiencing homelessness or in foster care can be administered credit by examination at any time and is not limited to the 4 district testing windows that are indicated here on the webpage. And so credit by examination administration and implementation are determined at a local level. And this is also a great example of a tool and a method available to assist in determining proficiency. Just like the example I had shared about the 8th grader who did take college Algebra 1 in California and was not awarded the credit, but had received an A. So this would be a great tool to utilize for them to take the credit by examination to demonstrate proficiency. So here on the next slide, we provided the screenshot of the credit by examination webpage and also the resources, the supporting Texas Education Code and an administrative code as resources for you. And we do know that most districts do utilize the services from our state approved providers such as Texas Tech University and UT at Austin Online High School. But we also wanted to share that districts can also develop their own credit by examination supports with the local board approval, certifying that the exam is aligned to all TEKS. So we're excited to really share this information, broaden the examination period window for our students experiencing homelessness or who are in foster care. So in our next slide, we're going to go ahead and cover the provision under 89.1607D. So each school district and open enrollment charter school must award credit proportionately to a student who is homeless or in substitute care who has successfully completed only half of a course as required under TAC 74.26E of this title. So considerations for implementation. LEAs are required to award credit, proportional credit, half a credit to students experiencing homelessness or in foster care if they have successfully completed half of a course. LEA should have processes in place to ensure that students experiencing homelessness or in foster care are awarded proportional credit when they have successfully completed half of a course. Receiving LEA should have processes in place to evaluate the student record upon enrollment and to verify proportional credit as it has been awarded appropriately. So we wanted to go ahead and share here that we called out this provision because the award of credit is determined by local policy, and there are some districts within the state that do not award a credit until the full course has been completed, meaning they do not award a half credit after the first semester. They award the full credit after both of semesters of coursework has been completed. And so under this rule requirement, students experiencing homelessness or in foster care would be awarded proportional credit at the end of each semester for courses in which the credit is awarded at the end. And we do this because our students are so highly mobile. We want to ensure that when they do withdraw and move on to another school, that they receive as much credit as possible to help ease those transitions for our students. And so Jordan will go ahead and check to see if we have any comments or questions.
Yes, so we had one question. Albert asked, who is the authorizing official that makes the determination of credits?
So who is the authorizing? So I guess the question would be on a local level. There would be some local policies around the authorizing of the credits. And that would be determined by either that we need to reflect on their board policy or their LEA policy on how that would occur.
Okay. Also about awarding proportionate credit under 89.1607D, does this apply to migrant students as well?
So this would apply to, for the proportional credit, this is specific in our rule for students who are experiencing homelessness and foster care. We would need to get back to you regarding migrant students.
We got another question about if a student is McKinney-Vento and needs to take a course exam to get credit, will the fee be covered under McKinney-Vento grants?
So yes, so for those LEAs who have a McKinney-Vento grant and the fee is a challenge or barrier, if there are no other resources, they could possibly utilize their grant funds to help pay for the credit by examination.
We got one more question from Blanca. I'm not sure what the context is, but I'm just going to go ahead and read it.
Sure.
What if it was due to high absence, but absences were due to homelessness? Can the school make an exception and still provide full credit to a student?
So again, that would be a local determination. Of course, we're always going to highly encourage you to evaluate on a case-by-case basis about the high absences. So thank you for sharing that. And so we'll give an example. So if there was high absences occurred, for instance, while you were setting up school of origin transportation, we would definitely want you to take that into consideration and working with your campus and district administrators to notate that about the absences to help support the award of credit. So definitely evaluating on a case-by-case basis. And it would be a local decision to go ahead and discuss that as a challenge or barrier and look at ways in which the students, how that impacted if they've demonstrated proficiency, that could be part of the documentation to help show these absences were due to a challenge of school of origin, but they have demonstrated proficiency and hence move forward with the award of credit. But that would be a local policy decision and assessment.
And I did want to, thanks so much, Cal. I did want to jump in quickly on the question about if this applies to migrant students. And our part of our rule here in 89FF is actually referencing the administrative code, which is 74.26E. And specifically, this portion of policy only applies to students who are homeless and students who are in substitute care. This was a change that was made at the agency probably about 4 or 5 years ago, based on the Texas Education Code 25.007 that requires the agency to develop policy around the award of credit for students in foster care and students who are homeless. So migrant students are not included in this provision specifically.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah. Thank you all too. These are great questions.
Yeah, we're going to there's a couple more before I move on. Is there a required timeline for prior notice to take a credit by exam?
Is there a required timeline to take notice? From my understanding, I don't believe that there is a required timeline. Well, specifically for students experiencing homelessness or on foster care. Kelly, and you can feel free to chime in, but I do not believe that there is a required timeline. I believe our rule ensures that they can take credit by examination at any point in time.
Our rule removed the barrier, or actually it's not our rule, it's our rule doubles down, but the administrative code credit by exam change for students in homelessness and foster care, exactly as Cal stated, that there are no time restraints on when students that are in these circumstances can take credit by exam. So we really opened up the opportunity for credit by exam for our most mobile kids in this situation.
We have a follow-up question from one that you answered, Cal. When it comes to local decision-making about the homeless students, would the local decision be where in the district where the student took the course or in the new school?
So are we talking about so it would be, I guess I would need a little more about that.
Sounds kind of like a follow-up, but
yes.
we could follow up outside. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. We'd need a little more information before we could proceed with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
Okay, well, thank you, Jordan, and we'll go ahead and hand it over to LaTrenda.
Hello, everyone. So now we will continue in the water credit section. Let's talk about supporting students towards graduation, the TAC 89.1607E and 1 through 5. We will cover those areas. So each school district and open enrollment charter school must develop a credit recovery plan for students who were denied credits outside the district or charter school. Also, the district must create a course transition plan for students who have been denied credit. And then it must develop and administer a personal graduation plan for students in junior high or middle school as required by the Texas Education Code 28.0212. And then ensure that the school staff engage with the student, parent, or guardian as applicable to develop a credit recovery plan upon enrollment if the student has a credit deficit that would impede on-time promotion or graduation. And number 5 is comply with the TEC code 28.25I concerning the award of diplomas for students who are homeless or in substitute care who are in grades 11 or 12. So what we would do now in the following slides, we are going to talk about each one individually. So on this slide, we're talking about the credit recovery plan and transition plans, E1, 2, and number 4. So we're going to cover those more in depth. So each school district and in open enrollment charter school must develop a credit recovery and course transition plan for students who are denied credits outside the district or charter school. And then also each school district and open enrollment charter school must ensure that the school staff engage with the student, parent, or guardian as applicable to develop a credit recovery plan upon enrollment if the student has a credit deficit that would impede on-time promotion or graduation, and that's E4. So some considerations for implementation. So the LEA must evaluate the student records in a timely manner and place the students in appropriate classes promptly to minimize disruptions in the students' coursework. Also, you want to ensure the information from all the schools the student attended is accounted for to obtain the most accurate picture of the student's educational background. And then lastly, LEAs are encouraged to utilize a transition plan to assist students in completing incomplete or missing credits. As a part of the transition plan, students should be allowed to continue the coursework in which they were previously enrolled to the extent possible. So we're hoping and we want to make sure you utilize that transition plan to make sure we are obtaining the most records for those students and that they can complete incomplete or missing credits. Also, we want to identify instructional practices that are utilized by the district to assist the students in regaining lost or missing credits, such as the use of credit recovery programs, accelerated instruction, and credit by examination. Then students must demonstrate proficiency in TEKS for credit to be awarded. That also, if courses are not available in the local course catalog, LEAs can identify other opportunities for students to continue their coursework, such as Texas Virtual School Network or other online programs such as the University of Texas at Austin's, UT High School, and Texas Tech University ISD. So now let's go into and talk about graduation, personal graduation plans. And this is the TAC 89.1607E3. So each school district and open enrollment charter school must develop and administer a personal graduation plan for students in junior high or middle school as required by the Texas Education Code, section 28.0212. So some considerations for implementing this rule. A middle school personal graduation plan is required for students who did not perform satisfactorily on a state assessment and students who are not likely to receive a high school diploma before the 5th school year following the student's enrollment in grade 9, as determined by the local education agency. Also, the middle school PGP must include educational goals for the student, a diagnostic information, an intensive instructional program, and all other innovative methods to promote student advancement, such as some flexible scheduling, alternative environments, and online instruction. And the personal graduation plan must address participation of the student's parents or guardian, including the consideration of the parent and guardian's educational expectations for the student. So requiring for the graduation plan, given the graduation statistics for our population, for our homeless population, and also our foster care students, we strongly encourage for the building of personal graduation plans for our students. So the provision part of the transition plan, it could also be a method that promotes student advancement. So we would love for you to connect that PGP with the students starting in middle school. And we're giving you the examples for having the middle school personal graduation plan. Now let's go into the award of diplomas. This is for special circumstances, and we want to highlight the special circumstances. So this is located in Texas Administration Code, section 89.1607E5. So each school district and open enrollment charter school must comply with Texas Education Code, section 28.025I, concerning the award of diplomas for students who are homeless or in substitute care who are in grade 11 or 12. So we're going to talk more about the Texas Education Code 28.205I. It states, if an 11th or 12th grade student who is homeless or in the conservatorship of the Department of Family and Protective Services transfers to a different school district and the student is ineligible to graduate from the district to which the student transfers, the district from which the student transfers shall award a diploma at the student's request, if the student meets the graduation requirements of the district from the student transfer. So specifically stating, the student has the option. The law allows the student to request the transcript from the previous district if the student does not meet the local standards for graduation. So considerations for implementation. It may be utilized if the student transfers into a LEA with additional local requirements for graduation, allowing the student to request a diploma from the previous school district if they meet the previous district's graduation requirements. And this opportunity should be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. And it is also a good practice to ensure that the counselors and those working with the student are informed of this benefit that the students have. So if the student transfers to a local district and they do not meet the graduation requirements, the law requires the student to request one from the previous district if they meet their graduation requirements. So now I want to offer you some resources and tools for support of this implementation. So it's good to know about House Bill 5 with information about the personal graduation plan. So we have provided you a link with information that directs you to House Bill 5 and the personal graduation plan. Also want to make you aware of the state graduation requirements. So at this time, we'll pause for any questions. Jordan.
Yeah, so we have one question in right now, and they asked if the student was in an online school and that previous school will not release records due to tuition payment, what process should we follow? Would that be credit by examination?
So that's a complex question. For students who are not allowed, so Kelly, did you come on?
Yeah, no, I came on. It's okay. Keep going.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify the question.
Okay. Valencia. So if a student is online and the previous school will not release the records due to a tuition payment. Okay. So are you trying to find out more information about the student's educational background? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Great. I would say this is a great question, and we'll definitely follow up with you, Valencia. We'll need to check with our folks that oversee our online schooling and get back to you.
Do we have any other questions?
Nope, that was the only question.
Okay. We'll keep on moving. So let's talk about placement in educational programs and courses, the TAC 89.1609. So placement in educational programs and courses. When a student who is homeless or in substitute care transfers before or during the school year, the receiving school district or open enrollment charter school shall initially place the student in educational programs and courses based on the student's prior enrollment in and current educational assessments from the sending school. So educational programs may include, but not limited to, gifted and talented program services, bilingual or special language services for English learners, career and technical education, and early college, high school. So course placements based on a student's prior enrollment should include honors, international baccalaureate, advanced placement, vocational and technical, and career pathway courses. So some educational programs that may be included in the educational placement based upon our rule, or some are listed, but may not all include some gifted and talented, bilingual and special language services for English learners, career and technical education programs of study, international baccalaureate programs, advanced placement courses, and also college and career readiness school models. So under the models, you have your early college, high school. You also have your pathways in technology, early college, high school, your P-TECH, and then also your Texas Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Initiative, your T-STEM. So we want to include other programs, but we want to highlight programs that were in the rule also. So considerations for implementation. We want to ensure that you are familiar with your local processes and policies and procedures concerning educational programs and courses. We want to support the continuity of educational programs and course enrollment within the LEA with their liaisons and the staff. And then also develop a local transcript, including all transferable credits, credits awarded by Texas Public Schools, and the student earned prior to enrolling and transferring. And then understand which educational programs and courses require assessment for enrollment. Next, let's talk about placement and educational programs. This is A9 1609B. Each school district and open enrollment charter school must ensure that a student who is homeless or in substitute care has the ability to earn the same endorsement categories if applicable. If only one endorsement is offered, it must be multidisciplinary studies. So considerations for implementing this rule. Remember that high school PGP is required for all students upon entering the 9th grade. The student and parent or guardian must also confirm and sign the personal graduation plan by the end of the 9th grade. This process also includes reviewing the distinguished level of achievement and the endorsement the student wishes to pursue. So that is according to your Texas Education Code, section 28.0212C. The LEA staff can also discuss information regarding the LEA's endorsement categories during the enrollment conference. And then if the student was already enrolled in the course, the district should make a reasonable effort to enable that student to continue his or her enrollment in the course. And then while the exact pathway the student has planned on may not be available, the options the LEA offer must enable the student to continue pursuing the endorsement, but with different courses based upon your local courses that you offer. So let's talk about continuing with placement educational programs and courses. This is C. To the extent possible, the school district and open enrollment charter school must ensure the continuation of students' educational and course programs from the previous district or charter school and promote placement in academically challenging and career preparation courses. So how can you implement that? Some considerations. The discussion of education and course programs could occur in the enrollment conference. So you're speaking to the student and asking them what they happened before, so you can try to, you must continue the students' educational course programs from the previous district. Also, how are you collaborating with others on the staff to ensure the student has the opportunity for placement in academically challenging and career preparation courses? And then we want to ensure that the training for the staff to understand the implementation of the continuation of the students' educational course programs. So we want to provide that continuation for the students' educational course programs from the previous school into the new school. So some resources for support for implementing this goal. We want to offer you the Texas College and Career Readiness School models. So this gives you more information about each one of those school models and also provides you more information about advanced academics for those educational course programs. So now we're going to pause for any comments and questions.
Yeah, we have one question in from Rachel, and she asked if the receiving district does not offer the same course as the prior district, can students enroll for free for the specific courses needed at Texas Virtual School Network, UT High School, or Texas Tech Online K through 12?
Some of those programs are not offered for free, but check your local district policies on providing courses and how you provide those courses for those students. So some of those are not provided free, but you may check on how your local will assist those students with offering some of those courses so you can provide that continuity of education.
We have a McKinney-Vento question. I don't know if Cal will be able to answer this one, but Albert asked, can McKinney-Vento funds be used for CTE certification fees like cosmetology, welding, etc.?
Sure, that's actually a great question. And so McKinney-Vento funds can be utilized to assist with fees if there are not other resources available to assist the student with paying for those examinations or certifications. So the district would just need to show that there are no other available resources. At times, students may be eligible for a decreased fee or no fee at all based on their that they're economically disadvantaged. So oftentimes there's waivers for that. But if not, yes, you can definitely utilize your grant fees for that.
Okay, I don't see any other questions right now.
Okay, so now let's reflect on some learning that we had today for this part 2. So at this time, we want you to take the opportunity to fill out that transition assistance worksheet that we put into the chat box earlier, to write down some information that sparks some ideas for you to take back to your LEA. Also some information that you received today that you want to follow up with about. Also, this is a good chance to take down notes from this presentation today, from this part 2. So take some time now to fill out that transition assistance worksheet. And then also, while you're doing that, in the chat, please share some of your highlights from today. So some of your highlights today may be also on that transition assistance worksheet. So in the chat, if you would like to share some of your highlights from this part 2 today, some of your learning, something that sparked your learning today. And then also information about your personal graduation plans. How are you doing those? And also, if you need to go back and follow up with your local policies about some of the information that we provided today. And then in any information about their endorsement options and how you can be flexible with that information. And also learning about whether the PGPs from the last school district and building it into yours. So that information today would be very helpful. And also thank you, Monica, for putting in that you didn't realize students could take the CBE credit by examination at any time. So that is very good information to know today. And also, while you're doing, and please in the chat, please, what is one key action step that you will implement from your learning today from this part 2? So what is one key action step that you will implement? So what are you taking back to your local district, your local education agency? How will you implement some of the information that you learned today? So thank you, Monica. Again, also sharing this information with high school counselors and principals. This is very important that those who are impacting those educational course programs and also placements, that they understand what is needed to happen for our students who are homeless and foster care students. Anybody else want to share any key action steps that you will implement? And thank you all for sharing in the chat. Also sharing with your registers to train them. Yes. Also, Kyle talked about earlier about supporting those graduations and also award of credit, what is needed. So also some key actions to share with new changes to ensure to collaborate with your high school district coordinator. Yes, the updated policies. So make sure to take this information back to your districts to make sure that you have to update your policies. And we showed you where everything is located within the Texas Administration Code. And Terry, thank you for sharing. Begin specific systems for strong collaboration between district administrators and registers. Yes, collaboration is key when working with our students. We want to thank you all for sharing. Yes, and verifying that your high school is fully aware of the district policy regarding awarding of credit. Very valuable information. And now we're going to on our next slide, with Transition Assistant Training Series. So today was part 2. Our part 3, the final part 3, will be on Friday, December the 3rd at 10 to 11:15 a.m. And in this section, we will cover the last portion of our 19 TAC 89 subchapter FF Commissioner's Rules. So we will cover the promotion of the access of educational and extracurricular programs. We will also cover the promotion of post-secondary information, and then the provision of special education services, and then the notice to students, educational decision maker, and caseworker. And remember, this is a 3-part training, but all the information from the 3-part training, the recordings and the slides will be on our website, on our highly mobile and at-risk website. And part 1 is already located on there now. Next, we want to show you where we are housing our previously webinars and where to find them. So first you will go to academics, and then you will go to the highly mobile and at-risk and mental health supports. And at the bottom, the division resources is where we currently house our previous webinars. We also house the newsletters that we sent out, and then also tools and resources is where you can find the enrollment kit for the rule. So those in part 1, we gave the tools, and they are located in the tools and resources on our highly mobile and at-risk and mental health supports webpage. So here we're showing you, and then you go to webinars, newsletters, and tools and resources. On this next page, we want to show you how to sign up to be a member of our Listserve. So we use the sign up for updates, and then also go and check the at-risk and highly mobile student program division, our foster care and student success, our McKinney-Vento homeless education, the mental health and behavioral health, military connected students. So as you're a member of our Listserve, you will be receiving newsletters that we post, information that goes out, any announcements that we are making. So we want you to sign up so you can get that information firsthand as soon as we send it out. So for more information, so if you have any further questions or information that you would like to receive for McKinney-Vento questions, please email them to homelesseducation@tea.texas.gov. And for any foster care questions, email fostercareliaison@teatexas.gov. And also in the chat, Jordan has placed the information for our tools and resources. And here is our program contact information. We want to thank you all for coming today and attending. If you have any Any questions, further questions? This is how to reach each one of us. And we want to thank you all for attending today. If you have any further questions before we end, we will take those now. Anyone from the team would like to come back and give any final thoughts?
Just thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here with us. And as you work to implement, take this back. If you have additional feedback for us, if there's additional questions that come up, we worked very closely with our curriculum division on this presentation to ensure alignment. And so even some of the questions today that we didn't have answers for, we'll be taking those questions back. We want to hear from you as you get into this and the implementation around it, so that we can provide guidance to support you all. So thank you so much for being here today. I do see we have a few additional hands that are raised. So if there's any questions there that we can answer, we do have a little bit of extra time. We could go ahead and do that now. Maybe people are just saying thank you with those raised hands. So thank you all for your comments, just saying thank you that today was helpful. These resources were helpful. We're glad you found it helpful. So thank you guys. Like we said, if there's other things that come up, please let us know. I'm seeing the Q&A. Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, that concludes our time. Send us any questions as you get into this. Also, as we're in the series, right, we've got one more, which is going to be December 3rd, as LaTrenda mentioned. If there's other things that you would like to see covered, so we're going to be rounding out the training with the other components of the rule that we haven't yet gone through. But if there's other things that have come up, whether it be part 1, part 2 today, or anything with part 3, we would be happy to address those questions. So please let us know and we'll do our best to integrate it as we're building out that presentation. Thank you all for the important work that you do, and have a really good rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Thank you.